Hello everybody. I put together some requirements for our lab that we have here, and basically what we're going to do is start to finish it's going to be pretty straightforward. There's nothing really major about what I've got set up here. It basically takes everything that you're going to need to know about these different sections of the CCNA exam and puts them together. Now there are going to be some things that will be um, obvious that I won't cover. Like I won't get specific as to specific questions that I've seen on the exam. I won't break NDA, non-disclosure agreement. I won't tell you specific questions that I've seen. Like I won't say if you see, if it's a subnetting question, obviously I can point it out, and there's a chance that you may see the same example on the exam, but it's unlikely. Um, Beyond that, so when you're implementing routing, um, there is at the CCNA level, all you're basically doing is turning the routing protocol on for OSPF and EIGRP. You're turning the protocol on. If it's OSPF, you're giving it a process ID number, which is locally significant, and then you're going to, at that point, you're going to advertise the networks that you want to put in there. What does that mean? Well, when you're dealing with OSPF, you type in the network. You type in network, the network that you want to advertise, the wildcard mask that's going to identify how much of that network is actually going to be advertised and how much is actually going to be uh, advertised, well, and then the area that the area that it will operate in. And what you do at that point is what it does is when you advertise it, it looks at the configured interfaces on your router that's there locally, and if the IP addresses that are configured on the interfaces match the network statement IP address that you configured, it will know which interfaces you want it to advertise out. Um, if you get specific and you advertise a very, very large range, it may advertise out all interfaces, depending on what you have running. So, I'll explain that. The first thing that I want to do, as you can see, is up here, is I want to finish assigning switch ports to VLANs and describe briefly how VLANs break up broadcast domains. At the CCNA level, you should be able to, at the very least, be able to describe what a VLAN is in its most common format. I don't expect you to get in there and be able to implement extreme VLAN access control or anything like that, because that is not what's going to be asked of you. What is going to be asked of you is core knowledge, foundation level knowledge. That's the whole point of the CCNA, the CCNP, and the CCIE certifications, is to validate core understanding at different levels. So, obviously at the CCNA, you're going to be knowledgeable to a certain degree. And then the CCNP will just build upon that. And I've been through the material for that already, so I already know what to expect. I just haven't taken the exams yet. I deal with this stuff every day, day to day, and my goal, the CCNA level, is to get you guys up to speed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over here, and all we're going to do now is we're going to bring up the switch, our VTP server, and there's no control, there's no telnet enabled, there's nothing like that. So what we're going to do is we are going to just come in here, we're going to do show VLAN. What does that do? Well, it tells us what VLANs we have to work with. Now, I know from last night that we put in here that this one guy's going to be 10 and 30, this guy's going to be 20. So that automatically tells me that in this example here, this is just a switch, is I'm going to type enable, I'm going to do show IP interface brief, and I know that let's see here. I'm going to do is options, preferences, and I'm going to turn port labels off. That'll make it easier for me. Okay, this guy is... What is this? Fast 2. Oh, Fast 13. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this guy, slide him over. So now that I know what to do, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to assign one to one and one to the other. So I'm going to go to global config. I'm going to do interface fast 0/2. I'm going to apply. I'm going to do switch port access VLAN 10. Okay. And now what that'll do is it'll reconverge. I'm going to do spanning tree port fast. What is port fast? As I explained in the layer 2 overview, port fast is when you plug a device into a switch port, it automatically flips over from not working to forwarding automatically. So there's no waiting for the spanning tree, blocking, learning, listening, learning, forwarding. None of that's there. So excuse me, that's what we're going to put in there. So now it's that, and then we're going to go interface fast 0/13. Now you can do this if you're going to do a range at a time. You can do this where you're going to put 10 ports in the same VLAN. You can do a range command, but because we're only putting one port, we don't have to worry about that. So we're going to type a switch port access VLAN 30 and port fast. Now, what does that say? Well, if it's automatically going to forward it into forwarding mode, it's going to possibly create a loop if you plug in a switch to this port. Now, it says port fast has been configured on fast 13, but will only have effect when the interface is in a non-trunking mode. So you can't put this into trunking mode and expect port fast to work. It actually, what it does is it counteracts this, but we're not going to worry about that too much right now. So now we're going to do a show VLAN and show VLAN. See how that is now? 10 is in 2 is in 10 and 13 is in 30. So we know it works. So now we gotta come over here and, or sorry, not that one. You guys couldn't see that anyway. Bring this guy over here, and we're gonna take this guy, and we're gonna, this guy's in 2. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna type in enable. We're gonna go config T interface fast 0/2. Type in switch port access VLAN 20. And just type switch spanning tree port. There. Like I said in one of the previous videos, as long as it knows enough of the command to do what you're telling it to do, you don't have to type the whole command in. So I'm going to end, type right, and be done with it. So now that's working. Now, I did mention, actually let me bring this guy back up and slide him over, and type in right. So now, how it's saved. I did mention here that I would describe briefly how VLANs break out broadcast domains. For every VLAN that you create, you are creating another subnet. Even though it says right here that we're dealing with the 10.23.65/0 subnet. So technically, by default, everything in VLAN 1 is that IP address. Okay? What ends up happening at that point is you take and you create another VLAN, 10, 20, and 30 like I have. What you've done at that point is you've created additional networks. So what you need to do is you need to figure out your subnetting accordingly. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to type in here, and I'm going to do V10 is going to be 10.23.60 is going to be 10.23.10.0/24. let's see here, V20 is going to be 10.23.20.0/24, and VLAN 30 is going to be 10.23.30.20/24. 0/24. That right there gives me, I don't have to sit there and go to the router or go to look at the switch. I can just look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's the subnet. What that does is it gives me the ability, actually let me do this right here, that'll throw me off. If I do that, I can look at it quickly and be like, okay, cool. So basically what ends up happening, and this is the beautiful part about this, if you do this correctly, and I did this on purpose, what I've done is the 10.23.65 network, as you can see, 10.23.65.252 is the VLAN 1 IP address right there. That is your management VLAN. Okay. Now, typically you don't want VLAN 1 as your management. You would pick some other VLAN, but it really doesn't make a difference in a lab environment. What I'm going to do at that point is all of these guys are going to be production networks. Okay. What you're going to do at that point is you're going to go in, you're going to configure this to an IP address, and you're going to give it a default gateway. Default gateway is going to be a sub-interface of this guy. So, and you're like, what? Okay, well, the basic idea is this. In order for this computer on this VLAN to get to this router and off the network, one, this computer has to be on the same subnet as its default gateway in order for it to get off. So in this case, this is VLAN 20. It's going to be, its network is 10.23.20.0. So you need to go to the router and you need configure an IP address under the fast Ethernet 0/0 interface, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. And you're going to create a sub-interface, which allows you to scale your network. And what that does is you're able to create additional networks beyond that. Now they all share the bandwidth, so if it's a 100 megabit per second interface, they're going to share 100 megabits per second. This is the style of InterVlan routing known as router on a stick. That is its technical term. If you look it up on Cisco's website, that's what you're going to find. Now, that is the Ccna level approved way to route your VLANs. There are other ways of doing it. There is layer 3 switching, and I will show you that as well. It's really easy to do. It's not hard to do. It's just a couple of commands on this guy, and basically what you do at that point is the VLANs stay inside of the switch network and never leave the switches. They always stay inside of the switching. So it's actually faster if you do layer 3 switching because of the fact that you're not trying to send information from here, comes up here, up to this guy, to here, back down here, to here. Okay, so what you end up doing at that point is this guy comes in here, hits this guy knows where it's got to go, so it ships it down here and down to here. This right here is what they call a single point of failure. A single point of failure means that if this link goes down, nothing gets routed. So that could be a bad thing, depending on the situation. So what I'm going to do now, and for the sake of argument, when I get a little further along, I will turn I will get rid of the static IP addresses on all of the routers that are going to be doing DHCP, and I'll configure DHCP so that you guys can see what that looks like and how it works. So I'm going to configure this IP address with a default gateway, same thing with these guys, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to do that real quick. It's really quick and painless for me to do it. So desktop ipconfig, type in 10.23.20.2, and then the IP address is going to be 255.255.255.0, and then the default gateway is going to be 20.1. There, that's done. This guy's the same thing, because I know it's a VLAN 30. We're going to come in here and go 10.23.30.2, 255.255.255.0, 10.23.30.1. That's that. And last but not least, this guy, desktop, and then 10.10, or sorry, 10.23.10.2, 255.255.255.0, 10.23.10.1. There. That's done. So now, We have configured the PCs to be in the VLANs. We've configured the what do you call it? We've put IP addresses on the computers statically. Now what we're going to do is we're going to implement InterVlan routing. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. It's really simple. Click on this guy. Slide him over. Click on the command line. You hit enter. And enable, and this is what's going to end up happening, is you're going to go do a show IP interface brief. Okay, see fast 0/1? It says it's administratively down. It means it's turned off by default. So we're going to go config T, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to go in and we're going to type in interface fast 0/0, and we're going to type in and we're going to say no shut. Now that turns it on. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to exit. We're going to type in interface fast 0/0 dot, and what we're going to type in is 10. Okay. What that does is it creates a logical subinterface. There. Now it's turned on. Well, why do we need to turn on the main interface? The main interface needs to be turned on because of the fact that it's the physical port. If you don't turn the physical port on, none of the logical ones will come up. You can turn a logical port off and keep the physical port on, and it'll work. But if because you may want to turn off a subnet, you know what I mean. So type in IP address 10.23.10.1 255.255.255.0. Configure IP routing on a LAN subinterface is only allowed. I did that on purpose. I knew that. So what you're going to type in is you're going to type in encapsulation .1q, and then you're going to specify the actually let me do this. .1q, and then the VLAN that you're going to put on there. So in this case it's going to be 10. Now we can apply the IP address. There. That's done. Now we're going to type in exit. Type in now that I have this set up, I'm going to type in 20. And I'm going to type in this. One more up. I'm going to type in 20 for that one. Now, if your switches have these VLANs created on them and you're replicating them down and they're up and running, you have to make sure that whatever VLANs you are creating here, they are going to use this trunk link to get across and be routed. So you have to configure that trunk link and that interface to route for those VLANs. If you say put 21 in here, it won't route that VLAN. It'll just die out on you because it doesn't know where to go. The router won't understand what you're trying to do. So you got to do that, and then you come in here and you type in 20. There. Now what we're going to do is we're going to type in 30, and then we're going to type in 30 and 30. There. Do show IP interface brief. And as you can see, all my sub interfaces are created. They're up and running. So now what I should be able to do is I should be able to ping 10.23.10.2. Now, this may take a second or two because it's got an ARP to find it. And it's dying. Why is it dying? Show IP route. Oop. Okay, it knows where it's at. It sees it. That's good. You guys are like, it's not working, dude. What are you doing? Well, let's do this. Show ARP. Doesn't see it. Why is that? Oh, I know why. And I didn't do this on purpose. This is actually my mistake. See, I still admit. See, even guys like me that do this every day make mistakes. See this interface right here? We're going to highlight this so we know what port, fast 10. We're going to click on this guy, go enable, and we're going to show interface trunk. Currently fast 1 and fast 2. This guy and this guy are trunks, not 10. So we're going to type in global config, and we're going to type in interface fast 0/10. Type in switch port encapsulation, or switch port trunk encapsulation .1Q, switch port mode trunk. Now notice how this guy went down. Okay, we're gonna wait a few seconds for it to do its thing, and it did because they're all running rapid spanning tree. Remember, do the same thing. Show interface trunk. Guess what? There it is, and it's allowing those VLANs. Native VLAN is 1. So now we're gonna write, and we're gonna click back on this guy. Still not showing any ARP. Is it gonna ping? What do you know? It worked. See, that's all there is to it. Same thing with 20. It's gonna ARP for it. There it goes. Same thing with 30. Okay, if I can ping all of them, I should be able to ping them from their friends. Let's do a show ARP. Guess what? There they are. The ARP table is your address resolution protocol. What that does is it says, okay, I know the IP address, or I know the MAC address, or I'm sorry, I know the IP address. It's a layer 3 to layer 2 translation. It says I know the IP address, I needed to know the MAC address that is associated with that one. So that's what that does. There's this thing called reverse ARP, which does the opposite. I know the MAC address, I just don't know the IP address. So that's pretty much all there is to it. So I'm going to click on this guy, and I'm going to type in command prompt. I'm going to say ping, and we know this is VLAN 20, so we're going to 10.23.10.2. See that? Let's do 30. Same thing, because it knows how to get there. So everything's working there. We know that works. So that right there, my friend, is how you do InterVlan routing at its finest. Nothing major, nothing too elaborate. Verify InterVlan routing by pinging PCs in remote networks. Well, we did that because they are in remote networks. Even though they're connected in some way or another, troubleshoot InterVlan routing. I didn't actually plan that one issue with the trunking, but that is something you need to be aware of. If it's between the router and one of the switches, that whatever switch port is connected to the router needs to be configured as a trunk, so that one, it allows the trunking to work, and it'll allow it to go across. So that's that. So now what we can do is, at this point, I think we could go ahead and I want to implement routing, but I should get all of these configured here real quick. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of look over my my requirements here. I've got this is done. Put a star next to it, or we're gonna just put exclamation point so we know that it's done. And troubleshoot InterVlan routing. Okay, at least we know it's working. So that's on that network. Now, what I'm going to do on this network, since I have VLANs, so that's the one thing it doesn't show me on the VLANs what I've got created. It only shows me the interfaces. This one might show me VLAN 1. Yeah, it doesn't. I was just hoping it would show me the VLAN information. Or you know what, I may not have created them. So let's do that. Interface, or enable show VLAN. Oh yeah, I did create them. I just haven't, they should be replicating, right? If I did my job correctly, they should be replicating. And they are. So they're replicating. That's a good sign. So what I'm going to do now is, let's see here. I'm going to take this guy up here, and I'm going to click on this guy, and then we're going to take this, and then we're going Where'd my multi-layer switch go? That's 0. I want multi-switch 2. 11, 25, and 41. So that's what we're going to do. 11, 25, and 41. So I'm going to type in. Let's see. VLAN 11 is going to be 10.20, 10.32.11.0/24. VLAN. What was it? I'm going to keep this off to the side real quick so I can see it. VLAN 11.25. That's going to be 10.32.25.0/24. And last but not least, VLAN 41. That's going to be 10.32.41.0/24. Oh, I missed a dot. Okay, so now I know my subnets. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create another user down here, and I'm going to throw him in one. And then what I'll actually need to do is I'll need to whatchamacallit? I'm probably going to pause the video while I do that, because then it'll go a whole lot quicker. But you know what? No, I'll do it just so you guys can see. I'm actually going to take an end user, throw it on here, and connect it. And fast forward to this guy. Okay. And do that. So we'll put this guy PC. Let's see here. Because I can still come to this guy and ping, because it'll still have a desktop with command prompt, so I'll still be able to ping. Servers just do a different type of setup. You'd actually go to configure, and you'd actually be able to configure what you want it to do. DHCP, TFTP, DNS, syslog, AAA if you want to do authentication, that type of stuff. So, yeah. So, how are we going to do that? Well, I didn't actually plan this part out. I planned out this part when I was at work. I took a few minutes and I just threw that topology together, or those requirements together. So what are we going to do? I think we're going to just come, because it's not here that we need to worry about it. So we'll make, since this guy over here, let's see. Oh, I attached it to the wrong switch. There. Let's see here. We'll just come over here and we'll get on this guy. And we will do this. And what we're going to do is we'll put, this is VLAN 3, this is VLAN 2. Oh, that's multi-layer switch. I want this guy. So we're going to config T and type in interface fast 0/2. Type in switch port access VLAN. We'll put 11 and 41 on that side and 25 on the other. And type in spanning tree, port fast. Yes, we know. I'm going to type in 3, access VLAN, port fast, and that's it. So now we know what's going on. And that's good. Excuse me. That's pretty much everything we need to worry about. And we're going to type in write and show VLAN. And they're put them all in the same VLAN. Hey, what do you know? That's okay. We can config T interface fast 0/3. That is this IP interface right here, right? Fast 3. I want fast I'll put fast3 into 41. So type in switch port 41. Now, if you would delete a VLAN, say off of this guy right here, you delete it off here on the server, it replicates down and deletes it on this guy and on this guy. If any ports are in that VLAN, they automatically lose. They don't know how to get anywhere because, well, they're off their network. In order for any device to go anywhere on a switch, it has to be in a VLAN. Or this is a Cisco switch. So show VLAN, and there it is. I've moved it. Real simple procedure. So I'm gonna write and be done, and then I'm gonna come over here to this guy and do the same thing. Command line enable config T. I'm gonna type in do show IP interface brief, and that's 2. We're going to config T. We're going to do interface fast 0/2 switch port access VLAN 25 and spanning tree port and right, and we're going to do show VLAN, and there it's in VLAN 25. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Of course. So this guy's in 25, slide it over, well, almost all the way. Desktop, type in 10.32.25.1 or 2, 255.255.255.0, and 10.32.25.1. Alright, we still got to configure a trunking between these two. And that one's done. And then this guy, desktop ipconfig 10.32. This guy's in VLAN 2, right? Or VLAN. This guy's in 2. 2 is in 11. 10.32.11.2. Does look like kind of fun. It does look like a funny subnet or IP address, but at least to me it does. This guy. Okay, this guy's going to go into 41. 10.32.41.2. Alright, so that one's done as well. I'll come back over here, and actually let's do this. This guy is fast 1. Interface fast 0/1, switch port trunk in cap .1q, switch port mode trunk. There. At least I know it's working. And right, show interface trunk. One thing you will want to do when you are, because it's not turned on, this one's not turned on yet, but it's not turned on the router, that's why, is when you're configuring, you want to verify as soon as you do it. You don't want to just assume that it's working correctly. So that's done. I've written it. Now we're going to click on this guy. And same thing as the other router. Enable show IP interface brief, and then we're going to go into, what is it? I think they're all fast 0. Yep. Go into config T interface fast 0/0 and do a no shut. That brings the interface up. Type in exit. Type in dot. Now, if you do a dot, you technically can get a whole lot more. 4.2 billion, I believe the number is. But we're going to do dot 11, and then we're going to do in cap dot 1q, and then we're type 11, and type in IP address is going to be 10.32.11.1, 255.255.255.0, and then same thing with 25, and then we're just going to type in the IP address. That's why I did it the way I did it, was so that I would, it'd just be on the fly, because you can get really quick with this, as you can see. It's just a matter of up arrowing everywhere you gotta go, and like I said, if you don't have to actually make the VLAN number the same as a VLAN interface ID, but it definitely helps. 41 there, and show IP interface brief. Wait a minute. Oh, I didn't create one. Oh, see what I did right here? I goofed. So I'm going to go config T interface fast 0/0.25, and we're going to type in. We're in 25, so we're going to give that the IP address of 25. Or I'm sorry, 25. And then we're going to type in 41. See, now it's created. And then we're going to 41 is there. Okay, well, hold on a second now. Now I'm confused. No, I'm actually not confused. I'm just worried now that it's not set up correctly. 41. See, it's already configured for .25. So no problem. So what we're going to do is .25, 25, and then we're going to configure 41 to be .41, and then we're going to configure the IP address to be 41. All things that you need to learn how to troubleshoot. So these are things that you will need to be paying attention to. So second nature, it comes with time. So now that I know it's doing ping, I'm going to start pinging 10.32.11.2. Should ARP. There it goes. We're going to type in 41. And then we're going to type in 25. There it goes. Do show ARP. Ta-da! There they are. And save our configuration. And for giggles, I'll bring this up and do a command prompt and do ipconfig. I know this is on 41, so I'm going to type in ping 10.32.11.2. That's good. Pretty quick. And then 25.2. That just proves to me that I have reachability. If something is wrong on either side with an IP address, it will die. And I'm not going to go through the process of trying to prove that. I'm just going to let you know. So at least I know that's working. And then the last but not least is going to be let's see here. It looked a whole lot nicer that way, but I'm going to slide these over here so that they're a little more neat. Come here. And do a little something like something. And a little something. There we go. I got 6 servers now. Wow, that's a lot. And close this out, close that out. And what we're going to do is I'm not going to implement VLAN routing on this one. I'm just going to let that be one subnet. I'll do that. But I will turn it on and make that a default gateway. Enable config T interface fast 0/0. Type in IP address. It's going to be 192.168.1.1. No shut. Turns that on. So now what we're going to do is end right. Okay, now that's saved. Now the beautiful thing about doing configuration now is that it's going to be real simple. 192.168. 192.168.1.2, 192.168.1.1, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm going to I was thinking about how I was going to do this, and as you can see, I have these are my production networks right here, the VLANs, and then I have a management VLAN. As long as you advertise your management VLAN as a, it's not going to be a big deal. And then I'm going to configure a loopback that's going to be advertised to the router so that all the loopbacks will be pingable, so that no matter where you're at, you'll be able to telnet to it. And then eventually I'll lock it down so you won't be able to. But I'll just keep adding networks here. And actually, I'll pause the video while I do that. Okay, the only thing I did was I threw another IP address in there, and that IP address is going to be a management interface for here. I'm going to configure a loopback, so it'll be the routers will be 111 or 111, 222. Well, and you can't put zeros in, but well, you can, but well, no, you can't. I'll make this 10.10.10.10. This will be 1.1.1.1 and 2.2.2.2.2. And then when I implement OSPF routing, I'll show you how layer 3 switching works, and that's actually how we'll convert it over to it. And this guy will be a layer 3 switch, and what will end up happening is this guy, I'll make this guy the DR, this guy the BDR. So at least now it's all routing. So the cloud is not working yet, the point-to-point connections aren't working yet. And these will all be point-to-point failover, and they'll be backup routes in case something goes down. So I'm going to stop the video there so that VLAN routing is all situated. Everything's been IP addressed, everything's up and running, everything's functioning except for routing. Routing is our next step. So I hope this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing.